has been a bit of a fall for grace for Luke Beveridge and his Bulldogs.
Yeah, we always thought that the side that was going to finish ninth was always going to be bitterly disappointed with the result, and assuming that the Suns get the job done on Wednesday. And what about this next couple of days for the Dogs? It's
no mad Monday today.
The worst possible. Well, any time you don't take control of your destiny, it's no fun. It's no fun when you're relying on someone else at any stage. And this is a bit of a Hail Mary. Essendon have been decimated, and we expect the Suns to get up. But they had their opportunities. They had their chances, and their best players played really well. But Freo's ball movement was the thing that really put them to task.
What caught your eye? Because we've seen JL this year, and it's been quite slow. It's been quite methodical with Bucks. It was completely different yesterday.
Yeah, no, I don't. I disagree. I think at times they've shown this throughout the year, and I think Murphy Reed's been involved in the best of it. And they've been prepared to try and use that extra disposal. I mean, there's a couple of basics there not done well. Rory Lobb should have taken that ball away. But this one here, this is a long down the line contest that we see quite often. But then the defender in Cleary was the wrong side of Murphy Reed. And then Garcia's the wrong side of, I think it was Switkowski, who was through the middle. And we saw that happen 3 times in the second quarter. And it opened up the game. It opened up possibility to Fremantle because the Dogs had dominated the first quarter. And it actually put the Bulldogs defenders on notice, and they weren't able to cope with it.
You say you disagree, but we really have only seen this type of football from Freo in last quarters. They've been phenomenal last quarters in the last sort of 6 weeks, but it was from the get-go, and especially from the back half, where they just put the Dogs to the sword.
Well, in any mode they've won 16 games of footy throughout a year. That's exceptional, and they've been able to do it, even though they were on the cusp of not making the 8 if they had to not have won that game, but. Yeah, it was an outlier performance, no doubt, in terms of their scoring per se, but I think the Bulldogs actually helped them along with that as well. But have a look at that forward mix. Amos probably played his best game for a long time. Yep. Tracy and Voss are in form.
But if you get 9 goals from your 3 key forwards, that's a pretty strong return. Well, you're happy with that as a head coach going into the game.
And they kicked 8 goals from the back half and 2 from kick-ins. So that's an extremely positive outcome. I think Reed's been really important to the mix. Bolton was on his tucker.
Fantastic yesterday, Bolton in the first half.
Played a lot more centre bounce time.
Yep, which was good too. I think they're finally building the game plan around Shea Bolton and Hayden Young with that speed.
Yeah, absolutely. I liked it. Just didn't see enough against Brisbane. Obviously, Hayden Young's an important cog as well. So the midfield looked better balanced, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a big win though, is it? Like it's a huge win,
especially after last week.
In terms of what was on the line. And the pressure and somewhat unwanted pressure that has fallen onto JL and the Fremantle Football Club to come over here, and I did the game. I must admit, after quarter time, I was a little bit worried because the Dogs had a lot of the ball inside their forward 50, albeit they were a lot of sort of repetitive inside 50s, boring inside 50s, long to a contest type of stuff, and the Fremantle held up really well defensively. And I must admit, at quarter time, I'm thinking this might be the Bulldogs by how much?
Yeah, correct. And all their best players were playing well. They had field position, but that's the thing. Freo's back 6 could hold up. The Dogs' back 6 couldn't. But Freo's response was as good as their last week was bad against the Lions. So they've learned from that. They went to school and they did very well.
The other thing when you watch the Dogs, and the numbers suggest that their form against top 9 sides and their form against bottom 9 sides, they're 2 completely different teams. So you look at their vulnerable defence, and if you've got a vulnerable defence and a really aggressive midfield group, I think there's gaps in your game, and that's what I sort of found on the weekend, that you've got guys like Bontempelli and Richards and these guys who are really highly rated. Don't get me wrong. But this is a forward 50 stoppage. You've got all 3 midfielders inside the forward 50 at a stoppage trying to be aggressive and get the ball.
And Baker's the wingman. He's really narrow.
And look how high Baker is. Yep. So what you've got now is you've got a vulnerable defence. We've spoken about that. Now look at the layers that Fremantle have to get through. They're non-existent. I mean, when I was playing, we were not even allowed to go inside the forward 50, not because we couldn't score or couldn't become an option, but it's because if you lose that stoppage, the layers that you have to force the opposition to get through need to be at least 3 or 4. There was no layers on the weekend.
Is that structure or is that personnel there, Bucks? Because there is a huge gap between there's only a wingman in that one sort of 20-metre area behind stoppage. It's very offensive.
That's vulnerable.
Well, what we saw with the long down the line clips that came out of defensive 50 was defenders getting caught offside and mids getting caught offside in your clip. There's just no balance. There's no sweeping at the back of those LDLs along down the lines, and there's no sweeping at the back of a forward 50 stoppage, which gives you a little bit of drop-off for your defenders.
Gives you depth.
There was just no layers.
Why is that?
I think if it's coached that way, the Dogs are committing numbers to the ball and backing that they are going to win the contest more often than not and be able to chain out and be able to score. But I would think in review, whether it's coaching or whether it's execution of the plan, there just wasn't enough cover at the back of any of Fremantle's exits or of the times where they had stoppages in their front half, the Bulldogs, that they didn't provide themselves with enough layer to be able to cover that fast transition, and they got burnt.
I wonder if it's the three tools. They play three tools on the weekend, and you don't really want no disrespect to you two, but you don't really want your tools going into the stoppage. So they become great presence down the line and in ball movement become great targets. When you get a forward 50 stoppage, it's probably the last thing you want is for a Norton to go to the stoppage, a Croft to go to the stoppage, or a Darcy. So they need to become that sweeper. So I just thought their forward 50 stoppages really didn't help their defence because they were so high.
And Brownie, the top 9 versus the bottom 9, it's been the polarising effort from the Bulldogs this year.
Well, that's a real test, isn't it? So they're this year's flat track bullies, unfortunately. So 137 is a really high percentage over the regular season. But the Bulldogs against the top 9 teams, look at that. They're 2-9. So the only 2 wins they've had was against GWS twice, and their percentage is obviously a long way below 137. So that's been the issue. Have a look at these games there. You can see the 2 Giants wins, the rest of the teams they've been beaten by. If you actually look at the teams they've beaten, North Melbourne, St Kilda, Essendon twice, then Carlton, Port Adelaide, Richmond, Sydney and Melbourne. So at the end of the game, their game has been tested and it's failed against the best. So they clearly don't deserve to be in the finals.
So where do you think their improvement needs to come from?
Absolutely, they've got to get better behind the ball. No question about it. And whether that be structurally and personnel, like I look at Brisbane, because they're the benchmark, they're the premiers. Brisbane's got an elite defence. But their wingers, and Josh Dunkley especially, charge back to support their defence.
Well, it doesn't lie in their top 3, though, as well. This is the thing, that the top-end talent for the Bulldogs in terms of player ratings, this is the AFL rating in the competition. They have the 3 highest rated players. So at the moment...
We can't ask any more.
You cannot ask any more than these guys. So the defence you're talking about, Brownie, is being exposed.
Well, it is, and Bevo, Bevo's rolled at this for a few years now when his key defenders get questioned or their one-on-one contests get questioned, but it is a reality, and it happens too often, whether it be structurally or personnel. I think it's a combination of both. It is an area they need to fix, Bucks.
Well, Dale's an aggressive rebounding player, a ball winner off half-back. He has some questionable defensive contests.
Yeah.
I thought Johannesson...
Are you saying aerial contest?
Even on the ground, even one-on-ones. I thought Johannesson was average, I thought Lobb was average. So he had 3 players that lowered their colours and, to my eye, couldn't be trusted on the night to be able to execute their role. I thought the other thing that happened was Bevo was looking for changes in his team in the last couple of weeks. He brought Croft in, played 2 games, the last 2 games. Sanders went out after playing most of the year and Jones came in as the sub, and he did well when he came on. And the other one was Bustlinger, who'd only played the 7 games. Now, if he's the one that you want to go with, he should be on 14 or 15 games by this stage so that he's ready to stand up when you get to an elimination final. And whether it was through injury or whether it was looking at other options, Karmas, Jones at different times, maybe they missed a trick about not getting him more exposure before he went into a cauldron like that.
So hang on, do you see any tough guys in the Bulldogs' defence? We talk about the men's department.
Would you say O'Donnell? I think O'Donnell's...
He's a young player, though. He's a young player.
Probably not.
I think Cleary put his body on the line a few times, but then in the end got caught in those.
He's inexperienced as well.
I think, where's the Dale Morris that they used to have? Where's the Easton Wood that they used to have? You need that player.
Well, the Taylor Dray just has retired. He was that sort of scrap-out type defender, but you're right. Once again,
they're the numbers.
But once again, you benchmark it against the best. And where do they stack up against the best? In Brisbane, I look at a Bailey Dale. Is he a Wilmot? I loved, and we'll speak about Brisbane in a minute, I loved his game. Aggressive in terms of the way that he defends, but also provides offence. I just think at the moment, they're probably geared too much towards the offensive side of the game and scoring, and not really sort of defending.